Hello crafty friends, I'm Lien from Studio Kato and I'm so glad you're joining me again today. Today I'm sharing a card for Streamside Studios, which is a lovely little Etsy shop, and they do digital stamps, and Sean creates all of these wonderful sets. And my favorites are the fairies, and this is the Fairy House Builder digital stamp set. And it's one of my favorite large image stamp sets on the Streamside Studio store. It's lovely and it's super detailed. I really loved coloring this. Now I printed this large image from the Fairy House Builder stamp set and two of these butterflies. I think they are from the Woodland Friends stamp set, but I'm not sure. I will make sure to list it down below in the description. So I printed all of these images onto Clairefontaine DCP 250 GSM cardstock, and then I printed them again identical, so they would be the same size, onto just some copy paper. And I cut the ones out of copy paper using some scissors, but mostly for the fairy house, I used my craft knife because it's so detailed and dainty with those vines and those flowers. I really love it. And then I covered the back of them with some temporary adhesive, so I could use it as masks. So that's what you see me do here. I'm just ink blending the background. So all of these images I can pull up and then the crisp white image will be underneath. I blended my favorite sky colors. This is just my sunset colors for fall, especially. I think they're beautiful. And I am now doing the grass ink blending here, and I do that just by masking off some of the card with a ripped piece of masking paper. Or masking tape rather. All the inks I used will also be listed in the description below. I used Streamside Studios inks because they are super vibrant and they have really gorgeous color selection, but they also blend on really smoothly. Now, the rest of this video is just going to be coloring, so if you don't want to hear me blabbering on just about coloring for the rest of this video, I totally understand. I highly encourage you to put on some music while watching this video, but I wanted to keep all of the coloring in because that's the main focus of the card. And I also know that I love watching coloring videos. It's just satisfying to watch it come together. So I figured I'd still make this video, even though there's not that much to it. I always do the same when coloring with alcohol markers or even with colored pencils and watercolor. I go from dark to light, and that usually gives me the smoothest blend. Now, the thing I struggled with the most while coloring this image was the large surfaces. So here I'm coloring the top of the mushroom, and I am really struggling to get an even blend on the first layer because I am using the tiny bullet nibs on these markers. Now they do also have a brush nib. They're not comparable to the Copic brush nibs. They are very flimsy and I don't usually enjoy coloring with them, but I really found it helpful while coloring this really large area. So I switched over to the other side of my markers, and that worked out pretty well for this. Now, anytime you have some trouble getting a smooth blend, I highly encourage you to just go over your coloring again and again until you're happy with it. Even if you don't have the best quality paper, if you let your coloring dry perfectly so the paper isn't saturated anymore, you can layer more layers on top of your first one. Layering colors not only gives you a smoother blend, but it also gives you deeper shadows if you want them. So for the mushrooms, I didn't have a red that was that dark on the first layer. This is 3 layers of that darkest red. So you can stretch your markers if you start layering them on top of each other. Now moving on to the vines, and I'm using some greens for those, obviously. These came out a little bit darker than I wanted them to, but overall I'm sticking with really deep, dark jewel tones, so I didn't mind it too much. I really like jewel tones for fall. This turquoise, for example, really goes well with the deep red, and I really like the deep green as well. And even though this is a very intricate image, I am choosing a very limited color palette. I am using the red, the green, the turquoise. I will also use some orange and some browns, and that's it. So I'm not coloring every flower different colors. I am keeping the mushrooms looking the same. I am even repeating the colors of the flowers and the butterflies on top of the card. So it's really, that makes it really look cohesive as a design. Okay, I did forget one color group that I used. I also used some grays. These are warm grays because the rest of my image was really warm as well, so I stuck to that. It's that really warm sunset fall look that I love. It looks like a fairy tale. I really love this style of image and this style of coloring, and it was quite daunting to me because I've never colored an image like this with alcohol markers before. Usually I would do it with watercolors, but I'm having trouble printing my digital stamps onto watercolor cardstock. So this is a good excuse to practice my markers. Now for the door and the stones around the doorway, I wanted to add a lot of shading to that, but I didn't want to shade every single piece of wood and every single stone. So instead, I made sure to put most of the dark wood to the darkest side of my image, which is the left side, and most of the dark stones to the left of my image as well. But I did add some color variation, but most of that is separate stones. So I colored some stones lighter than others, but I'm not shading every single stone. Now I colored outside the lines quite a bit on this image, especially on that top of the mushroom. So I used my white gel pen to bring the white back into the spots, and I also added some more spots on the mushrooms as well. Now I can just adhere that panel to a top folding white note card with some Barely Art Precision Craft glue, and then I'm moving on to my matching envelope. Now I don't want to disappoint you guys, but this is my most boring matching envelope yet, and I like it that way. I'm just folding a cream colored envelope. This isn't even pattern paper, but I really wanted this tone of cardstock, and I didn't have any subtle pattern paper in that color. I just wanted it to not distract at all from my card. I spent an hour and a half making this card, coloring it, ink blending it, and I just wanted it to stand out a lot, and the envelope shouldn't have distracted from that. So that's it. That's my card for you guys today. A lot of coloring. Usually my videos feature a lot more techniques than this, but I hope you still liked it. And I hope you liked the finished card as well. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read them. I also highly encourage you to check out Sean's shop, the Streamside Studios shop on Etsy. I will leave a link in the description below because she has so many beautiful digital images and they're really fun to color and play with, and they don't take up any space in your craft room, which is a big plus for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.